Oh man, we live, baby. We live. We live, baby. We live. What's really good, family tree? Yeah. Listen, we've got a very beautiful, good show in store for you right now. We're going in on kinetic information. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for it, waiting for it, and we're finally here delivering it to you. We are going straight into the ancient Egyptian book of the dead. And what I would love for you guys to do, I know we're going to have my Muslims here, we're going to have my Christians here, we're going to have possibly my atheists here. And I want you guys to, really sit back first, listen, learn, um, and, think of some very, very good questions that you can ask us in relationship to Kemet, ancient Egyptian philosophy. Or for today, I'm going to call it ancient Egyptian religion because today I think this technically borderlines, if not outright, is ancient Egyptian religion. Personally, I use it for its philosophy, but this definitely is, I would say, religious. So it's going to get very interesting. All right. Let me just drop you the link, though, Asar, in the meanwhile, because this show is definitely here for you. So only if you are a Kemetic, may you come in right now. If you are not Kemetic, stay outside and just watch, and then type some questions with inside of the comment section. We are here. We're reading all your questions and comments, just like Terry Smith is saying. Oh man, good to see you. Real Eyes up in the building as well. So yeah, all right. So we're about to go in. So I'm going to actually present my screen. But before I do present my screen, guess what? We've got a special guest in with us right now. We've got my brother Jose up in the building. Jose, what's really good, King?
I'm very, very glad you invited me on your show. And I'm very glad we're doing an actually comedic show today.
Yes.
So we're gonna go in, and this should be very interesting. People are gonna get very upset about this because they're gonna say you're promoting the blue, 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 and the blah, blah, and all of that madness.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see. This should be a good one.
So yeah, I can't wait. I love these types of shows here, especially when it's like comedic stuff. But I want to learn from others, though. I'm tired. I've been on this thing for over like 10 years on YouTube, going through comedic information, going through other information as well. I technically just want to sit back, relax, and learn from others. So right now, we're going straight in to this. Let me present my screen. Full screen layout. And we want to like this. Okay. Hello. Black.
What's up, Asar?
I don't know if that's us all. Black, are you there?
Oh, sorry. I can't see too well. They're very small.
Black, are you there? If not, I'm just going to keep you in the background. I'll wait a few seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. Oh, hold on. What are you saying, Black?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. What's up?
What's good? What's good? Quick question. Are you comedic?
Am I what, sorry?
Are you into comedic philosophy?
I'm not a comedic person, though.
Okay. Are you familiar with the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead and what we're about to go through?
Yes, I am.
All right, cool. I'll have you here then. And if you could add anything, we'll listen to what you have to say. So, all right, everybody keep their mics muted right now. We're about to go in. And right here, let's see, is it big enough? Everybody who's watching on the YouTube right now, please let me know if it's big enough. We're going right now into the introductory hymn to the sun god Ra. Okay, this literally is the first chapter within inside of the papyrus of Ani. When you open up the scroll of Ani, this literally is the first thing that you are greeted with. Okay, and it says here, worship of Ra when he rises in the eastern horizon of the sky by whoever name it is. In this instance, it's actually Annie, but I could even say, by Jose, for example. Anyways, I'm just going to read out the first bit and then we'll just have a nice little discussion. He says, "Hail to you, you having come as Khepri, even Khepri, who is the creator of the gods. You rise and shine on the back of your mother, having appeared in glory as king of the gods. Your mother not shall use her arms on your behalf in making greeting. The Manu Mountains receive you in peace. Maat embraces you at all seasons. May you give power and might in vindication and a coming forth as a living soul to see Harakati, to the spirit or to the ka of whoever you're giving it to." So I'm just going to open it up right now. Okay. So everybody can open up their mics, and we can just talk around this particular paragraph and see what everybody has to say.
Well, it seems very powerful. It's sending a very powerful message. As we know, Ra is clearly I would say the most important deity, because he is the one that created everything. The nature and human beings as well. So that is the most important deity we're talking about here. He's the father of all. You heard me?
I think it's frozen.
There you go. Black, what are you saying to me?
Yeah. So I think this is just opening up the introduction, to a deity that understands self-realization, that understands there is favoritism in the world, that there are races of people who are more superior than others. All humans are not created equally. They are created equally in humanity, but there is favoritism. That's why the world is literally black and white, and this God understands that, and he can bask in his happiness and sit back and be detached from the outcomes of humanity.
Wow.
So you said
For
to me,
real? Nah, man.
So
That
let
can't
me
be serious.
let me start to break into some of the things that you just eloquently spoke over, left from the natural right there. One of the most important things that you said is the land of Manu, which is basically the West. It's where Ra sets at. And there's lessons in that particular thing alone. So when we talk about Manu, that's the West. The West is where you go when you pass away. That's where you get the term for Sar Kentiamentu for most of the Westerners. But also, there's a mountain in ancient Egypt, and there's also the fictitious mountain that they have where the two peaks of the mountain touch the sky. The eastern mountain, or the eastern tip, is called Baku. The western tip is called Manu. So we're talking about the western mountain right now, and they believe that these particular mountains would touch the sky, and they would be the peaks of heaven. Now, there's a particular picture I've spoken of before. It's called the Ajet, right? And it shows the pet, and it shows the horizon in the middle. It shows two lions with their back towards each other, yesterday and tomorrow. One is Asar and one is Ra. Ra is tomorrow or today, and Asar is yesterday. And the two mountain peaks are there in the middle. In fact, if I could share my screen real quick, Kalam.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Let me see. So I want you to visualize real quickly the object. If you can, is it sharing?
Let me get yours up.
Okay.
There you go.
No?
Yeah, we've seen it now.
Okay, cool. So over here it's like Sephora and all this, Dua and all that stuff. But this is the mountain here. So this is yesterday. This is today. This is the pet above. This is the heavens above here. And here is our horizon, what you call an object. And usually the nature, our care protects it. Our care is like an older form of the term Geb, which represents the earth. But these are the horizons, the blessed horizons, where when you pass away, you will go to if found righteous in the balance. That's where we expect your soul to travel to.
That's
in
not true.
faith. Yeah, that is true.
That's not true.
Oh,
I can
well,
explain why.
prove me wrong.
So what you just said is
Give me the floor to prove me wrong real quick. Go ahead.
okay. So what you literally just said is that when you die, right, you get judged and you get sent to a certain place, right, based on righteousness, right, based on good deeds.
Correct.
That's incorrect, because there is no deity that actually explains what in any Egyptian philosophy, right, or any deity in any mythology or philosophy that actually explains that there's good or right, because when you die, you're reincarnated instantaneously, regardless of what you've done.
That's not true. But go ahead.
So when the reason why, right, is when you die, a lot of people don't understand this, right? You're not judged on anything. When you die, you're coming back, right? And you come back through your lineage, right? And you become an upgraded version of yourself, right? And you draw closer to a more superior race. So if you were born in Africa,
wait. You can't be serious.
Let him finish.
No, hold on, Asar, we're not going through that. We're here to talk sense. If you want to talk this racial foolishness, this is not the show for that. We're not going for that.
An Egyptian,
you're grown man, brother, you're grown man. We're not doing that.
Every Egyptian God talks about race. What are you talking about?
We are not doing that, brother. We're not doing that.
What do they say about race?
Or go and lay down, brother. We're not doing that.
No, but you're wrong.
But you're wrong. Foolishness.
But you're wrong.
No, you're speaking foolishness.
I'm speaking foolishness.
We're not doing that. Black, we're not doing that, brother.
Okay, but can you prove me wrong?
This is not for that. We're not doing that.
Okay, so are you woke?
All right, let me just mute everybody's mics real quickly. Yeah. So I'm going to say this. If you are Kemetic, I want to hear your voice on the show. If you want to refute, rebuttal, or say anything contrary to the Kemetic philosophy, the Kemetic literature, I would say come at the end of the show to do that. Because unfortunately, my good brother Black, like, I am here to listen to what you have to say. I don't get that twisted. And I appreciate your voice and what you have to say. But in terms of aligning with Kemetic philosophy, so far, what you've said is contrary to Kemetic philosophy. It may be in line with, a new philosophy or an ancient philosophy, but it's definitely not in line with Kemetic philosophy. Unless you're telling me you're getting this from Kemetic philosophy. And if so, I would love for you to just, quote a particular papyrus, stele, temple, or something where you're getting this information from. All right, I'm going to open up the floor back to you, Black. Go ahead. Say again.
In Kemetic philosophy, it teaches about reincarnation.
Okay, where does it teach that?
Literally in the book that you're reading.
Okay, whereabouts in the book? What does it say?
So when you die, right, in the Kemetic philosophy, okay, your body goes through transmigration. You go to the land of the dead. Everybody knows that. You get taken away by, I can't remember the name of this deity. He's the god of death, right? Muslims basically copied this, right? They copied it from this. So the god of death, I can't remember his name.
He's talking about a star, but he's messing that up. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Egyptian god of death, it doesn't really matter. It's a god of death that takes you. It takes you to the underworld, right? And then it takes you to this intermediary place where you get slam dunked back into this planet instantly. You don't have a choice. You're not judged on anything. That's where people go wrong. How do I know this? Because I know my previous life. I have proof of where I was in my previous life. I was a World War II soldier and I died. I was killed by Nazis as a black man. Okay, so I'm not lying to you. When I died, right, in 1945, because I'm in the Wereth 11. If you type in Wereth 11, I was killed by Nazis. I was mutilated in 1945, and I came back in 1996. I'm not lying to you.
I believe you, my bro. This is what I'm going to say to you. So far, what you said, it seems as though it's your own experience rather than what Kemetic philosophy teaches. Yet again, because with inside of Kemetic philosophy, I'm going to say to you, there is no such thing as reincarnation. And
Oh my God.
Broski, you said that you're not judged in Kemetic philosophy. We have a whole judgment scene. So it's very interesting to tell me that you're not judged. Later on in this chapter, you will see something at the end. We'll discuss about being ma'acheru, true of voice, vindicated. You have passed judgment. Okay, you've now become a righteous spirit or a righteous ancestor. So unfortunately, like what you're saying so far is contradicting Kemetic philosophy, and I definitely do want to hear your voice. But I will say this: either wait in the background for the next like half an hour to 40 minutes until we open up where we can have this discussion. But I want to just purely teach Kemetic philosophy coming from the Papyrus of Ani, and then we can go into any personal experience that you've had or whatever else you want to teach after that. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine, but I urge you to join my party.
Cool.
Party.
We'll discuss that later.
Party, yeah. Okay.
I'll catch you a little bit later on. You're just going to be in the background, but you're still in here. And as soon as we're finished, you can come straight back in. All right. Let's get back to Kemetic information.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, family.
Yeah. So our brother got a little mixed up there. He was talking about the natural Asar, and saying that Asar is going to do this or that.
Forget that. I want to go right back into where
you
guys left off or where we left off. Let's go back.
we go in there for sure. But when he's talking about the West, he forgets that he has to go through the balance. And so I'm going to pull up the balance. Let me pull up the balance real quick. Because he said, oh, you don't get a choice. You're automatically reincarnated. But when you forget about the balance, you forget that here's Amit right here. If you can see my screen. And so Amit may stop you from getting the reincarnation because you have to be judged. Because what happens to those who are found with Isfet instead of Maat get eaten up and cease to exist. And so they won't say your name and it won't be remembered. And no one will give the libation for you. And no, you won't get to eat the food, whether it's a voice offering or the real offering. And so here you can see Amit right here. That is clear what's going to happen if you're found unwanting. Here you see Ampu holding the hand, and I believe that is of Annie right there. You know they didn't want to show Annie with the darker skin right there. But Ampu is holding Annie's hand here while they're here at the balance. Jehudi is recording the event. So no, if this heart is found wanting in the balance, you don't get automatic resurrection. You get eaten up. Now, let's get where Kalam was just telling us to go back to. Let's get back to Manu and what we find in Manu. And what I want to do is let me take you here. These are called the regions of night and the thick darkness, right? The reason why you should go here is because one thing in this particular mythos is going to tell you about what Manu is, what Ra does when he rises from that location, and it's also going to tell you a little bit about the soul in this story, regions of night and thick darkness. Let's read real quick. We'll read the first paragraph so you can understand the boat we're about to encounter, or the one that Kalam mentioned, and what happens here. So it says, when the world came into being, there were two rivers. And this is important for your psyche about what is above is also below. The river of Egypt and the river of the sky. Great is the happy, the Nile. The river of Egypt, rising in his two caverns in the south, beyond the cataract, flooding the land of Egypt and bringing joy and good harvest to Tamari, the land of love, what they called Egypt. Great and mighty is the river of the sky, flowing across the heavens and through the Duat. The world of night, now the Duat is the heavens. In the heavens, you have a place called the Aru, and that is the field of reeds, or the Seket Aru, the great field of reeds, the great place of rejoicing, basically, the great field. The world of night and of thick darkness, and on the river floats the boat of Ra. The boat of millions of years is its name, but men call it the Manzet boat. In the dawn, when Ra rises in splendor on the eastern horizon of heaven, but the Mesket boat, it is called in the evening, when Ra enters in glory within the portals of the Dua. So you have two names for the boat, depending on what time the sun is in the sky. The Manzet boat is in the dawn. The Mesektet boat is what it's called in the evening. When Ra enters in glory within the portals of the Dua, where the mountain of Manu, remember that, the west, lifts its peaks to the western sky. On the western horizon is the mountain of Manu, and on the eastern horizon, the mountain of Baku. Vast and huge are they, raising their crest above the earth, and the sky rests upon their summits. And on the topmost peak of the mountain of Baku dwells a serpent, 30 cubits in length is he, and his scales are of flint and of glittering metal. He guards the mountain and the great green waters, and none can pass by him save Ra in his boat. So you want to make sure you're on the boat of Ra so that you can sail past that serpent. Because if Amit doesn't get you, the serpent will. So you need to make sure that you're in Ma'at, you stay righteous, because if you're not, Isfet will be your downfall. And this is based on your heart and its wab, its purity. Go ahead, brothers.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. So what this really is dealing with the sun then, in a kind of anthropomorphic way. Is that correct? Or am I misunderstanding?
The sun is the time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And what happens to the soul?
Right.
Now,
So
I'm going to give you a quick science lesson real quick, right? Before my brother Jose builds in. When you pass away, hold up, let's go even further back. When a solar system passes away, it's usually engulfed by what? A sun. So you're definitely going to meet the sun if you're in the solar system. Eventually, it will grow in capacity. Eventually, it will engulf what is around it because you're trapped in its orbit. So you will be one with Ra at some point in time, scientifically. Nothing you can do to avoid that.
Right.
Whether you're in the dirt when it happens or whether you happen to be alive, which you probably won't be, you'll be too close to the sun. Unless you make a spaceship and you travel away from it, which you see a lot of people trying to explore in doing because they're doing bad stuff to the earth. But eventually, you're going to become one with Ra. It's no way around it scientifically.
Right. So this is more like a cosmic story in terms of saying sun rising, sun setting. And they also found out that some of these places that they talk about, as you said, are actual physical locations. They're not just imaginary. They have a physical counterpart. So
Yes.
they talk about the Duat. They figured out where the Duat was. They figured out where these different places were. We now understand. But in my view is, they talk about coming from the West because I think in their view, they believe that they come from West Africa. So that is the land of the ancestors. And if I'm wrong, correct me, because I'm not as well studied as you. So do you think that's the reason why, or is it not? Because that's my view.
I'm not so sure that the West is the reason, because remember, they come from down south and then they move to the West and then they join up Northeast Africa as a hub. when we look at the human migration map and when we look at some of the linguistics that come there. For instance, we have the term Isishango, which is a Zulu and Xhosa term, which makes its way into West Africa for their priest as well as the Southern African priests. So I'm not so sure that the reason for calling it the West is that per se.
But it could be.
As possibly, it's a possibility.
Because I always looked at that and I was wondering, what is this thing that they have with the West being the land of the ancestors? There have to be some sort of reason other than just making it up. Because when you
that's
look at
what the sun
deities
says.
in
So we
African
just
cultures, normally. Okay, but we also know that that when you deal with deities, these deities could possibly be ancestors, and they didn't just
some of
make it
them
up.
are, but just because their ancestors doesn't, that's like not a monopoly for the West. That starts in the South.
They do
So
say that.
when you,
They do say Norma came from the South.
yeah, but well, Nkulu, when we go back to all the way down to the Zulus, you got ancestor worship. We always revere our ancestors. So it wouldn't be a monopoly for the Western hemisphere, which is when you look at like your Akan, your Ifa, they're derivatives of what took place in ancient Egypt, and you go westward. Egypt is derivatives of what took place in ancient Vudan spirituality systems, such as some of the older Khoi spiritual systems. And we always venerate the ancestors. Asar is the typification of the ancestral cult. So he's like the ultimate ancestor. He's great. He's black. He's this. When we want to be like him, dance like him. He's the handsome. He's the Kim Ware. He's this. Just like Aset is your typified female for the great ancestral cult. And this is not just for, our brother said something else that was kind of off before he left. He was like, this, and this shows that black and this, and you have to be this and racially. No. Everybody back in the day wanted to be a Shemsu. You wanted to be a Shemsu, which is a follower of the Necha. What is the Necha? The Necha is what you would call the God. And so in this case, you have Persians coming in. Persians don't start bringing their religion. They start to copy the religion that's there. When you have Greeks coming in, they don't come with their own religion. They actually get a foundation of Zeus as Amun, etc. when they get there. Every culture wanted to be that. When the first Christian school is made, it's in Egypt, and you have people like Origen and Mark trying to emulate what they do right there. This is why when you go to the agnostic text, you can see prayers to Asar and Jesus in the same lines.
and it's very interesting because it's the same type of dynamic with Asar and Heru. The only difference is that the father had to sacrifice himself so he could be reborn as the son, because they were really, in essence, the same deity. He's a reincarnation of his father. Correct?
Yes.
And I find that very interesting. But we when we look at the story of Set and how he chopped up his brother, it's a very interesting story, because some people say Set represents all the foreign weirdness that the ancient Kemetic people didn't look upon as being right.
Set is chaos embodied.
They had no respect for you. Trying to molest people's thing is foreign culture. And it's the same Papyrus of Ani. It talks about Set and Heru fighting, and and Set ripping off Asar's testicles, not so?
Hold up, you said Set and Heru fighting and Set ripping off Asar's testicles.
No, sorry. Set and Asar were having a fight, and it mentions in the same text that
Set and Heru. Set and Heru
were
fighting.
Set in Heru fight.
Heru rips off Set's testicles, and Set pulls out one of Heru's eyes.
Okay, so I was right the first time. Sort of.
Sort of.
All right,
Yeah.
but they say they're saying that Set like represents this kind of weirdo culture. Is that would you agree with that? That he's like the foreign deity that represents all this weird stuff that people are not supposed to do?
Set is not foreign. He was loved by foreigners. So Set he becomes the embodiment of chaos. So you have three things going on in ancient Kemet. One, as we kind of move away from what we came to do, which was cover more of this text, we'll get to that in a second. Set starts out in the south very early on as a good deity. There's a war between those who followed Set and those who followed Asar and those who followed Heru. This is some of the documentation that we find. This is also some of the bodies that we find about the war scattered through Egypt when you go to the archaeology. The Sets started to kill off the Asar clan. The Heru clan joins with the Asar clan, and they get rid of the Set clan and make them subservient and peaceful. This is how Set becomes demonized as a deity. Then when foreigners start to come in, such as the Hikakasut and what have you, you start to have the Hikakasut immediately worship the Set deity. And we call that the chaotic deity. And then that's pretty much a personification, which is why there's a case that Asar, Set, and Heru could be real, because they could have been people who actually led these particular armies. We don't know in particular, but it's a great possibility, especially with stuff like Diodore Siculus saying Asar, when he talked to the Ethiopian king, that Asar was the person that we sent out to colonize Greece. So
Yeah,
some of those
I was reading something where they actually called the name of the I think was Asar, because apparently they found his head in a jar. I don't know the full story. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. They said like they found a man's head in a jar, and they said they think that this is one of the early rulers who might have been, who Asar might have been based on.
Well, E.A. Wallace Budge says that they found a head on top of incense in a house that it appeared everybody visited. It basically saying it was an old per ankh, and there's a whole bunch of incense, and his head was still on top of the incense.
Wow.
Which is, and that's in the gods of Egypt, I believe, are the Osirian, one of those is in, and that's what he makes the statement about concerning. So, like I said, Asar could actually have existed. It's probably likely that he did, more than likely, because remember, he represents the ancestor cult. He was probably an ancestor. Colorado.
So
go ahead.
So he thinks that they were venerating this head.
Apparently. Well, they give praise to their ancestor, and they obviously had the head, and it was a lot of incense underneath it when they found it. That's archaeological.
Wow.
Let's shout out the chat real quick and see if we can make sure we cover their questions as well. Peace from Colorado. I see you, big dog. What did Ra say about the slavery that Kemet, Egypt used in their land? He said, hack up the limbs that turn against you. So if you were a limb that turned against Ra, he said to hack you up. That's the exact statement. Let's look at some others here. Catholics and Orthodox revere saints and even pray to them for. Yes, that's very true. Kemet had real magic, not voodoo. Voodoo and Heka are not really separated. When you do the as the homie was saying in Chicago, do your homework on Voodoo and Heka. Do your homework on Voodoo and Heka. Let's see what else they got. Who is the god of Kemet? Which one? See, when they all come together.
They had a movie years ago called The Serpent and the Rainbow. And they were showing you how in this movie they were mixing a particular potion to zombify people. Have you ever saw the movie and saw what they were trying to show you in the movie?
I seen some of
That they were
Serpent in the Rainbow. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently someone told a story that something like that happened to them. They were either Haitian or Dominican, and they were giving them this shot every day to keep them in this particular state, and they were using them as force. They were using them as forced labor. And he said he went to the site where his grave was. So I mean, there's some science to it, though. I would think it wasn't just magic. They have different things that they mix up that actually work. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, there's certain drugs like there's certain drugs that people can put you on to sedate you, put you in a trance type state. All you have to do is go to a bar. The date rape drugs are all over the place, right? So it's definitely
no.
not.
But they were saying that, but they were saying apparently they used to give people the drug, bury them, and then dig them up later on, because it used to slow the metabolism down. I don't know if that's true, or if that's just a story. Because I heard stories like that.
Yeah, that's some Serpent in the Rainbow business right there. I ain't heard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I do know that from the date rape drug, you know what it is, right?
So what is when we say magic? What does that mean? Because I was reading the Westcott Papyrus, and they were regaling Khufu with tales of magicians, and he actually called one of the magicians and said to them, "I want you," like he was telling them, to execute a prisoner and chop the head off to reattach the head. And Jedi said, "Well, we can't do that to remember the sacred flock." And like they took a goose or something and cut the head off and put it back on. So I mean, do you think they really believed in that, or that was just
there's mythos covering that, right? So when you go into the myths and legends of ancient Egypt, you're gonna see some of that in there. You're gonna see that, but do they believe that it happened? No, not necessarily like that. But it's myths that cover a particular. I can't remember if it was a Sem priest or which particular priest, but they have them cut off a person's head and then he reattached it and the person was back alive. Just like when you talk about Aha, when he was checking on his girl and his girl was sneaking around, one of the priests threw a wax alligator in the water. The alligator caught them swimming together and ate. He swallowed the guy who was cheating with his girl with. And when he comes back, he calls the priest calls the alligator out, and the alligator opens his mouth and the guy pops out and he's like, "So you was cheating?" "I didn't mean to." And then he says, he makes the alligator grab him and swallow him back up and take him back in the water. So yeah, there's mythological stories, of course, with meanings behind them about don't be cheating on me. Don't do this. Don't do that. So everything has a correlation.
All right, family, I'm back. I'm back, baby. I'm back. I don't know why Internet Gremlins is really trying to get at me, dog.
Yeah, man, for real.
So let me quickly do all the shout outs real quickly. So we got Medus, Nevseka, Pesh up in the building, dropping the bombs right now. $10 up, super chatter supreme. Yeah, it says lessons learned, now Valley movement. All right, family tree. If you want to get my attention, like what the brothers done there, drop a super chat. Another way to get my attention as well is to tag Titans TV, and then I'll definitely be able to see your message. Okay, so that's if you want to get your message read out live on air. I just want to introduce my good brother, Cosmic.
Yo, peace, family, peace. What's good? Yo, how's it going?
Imhotep, see, we got special guests popping in today. Drop a $5 for your brother, man.
Yeah, brother. Come on, back at it.
Let's go, baby. Woo!
Yeah. So right. I want to address some of these things.
What are you saying, though?
Oh, big Cosmic, going because I see you driving, going to say some stuff. I want to address some of our brothers in the chat, make sure they don't feel left out too.
I was enjoying the build, man. Man, I really kind of wish that I caught this later, but I don't want to let the whole podcast or the whole show go and me not get up here. But I've been looking at the pyramid text, right? And then looking at looking, not the pyramid, you know, so we know that they're associated with the temple complex outside the pyramid, and looking at their arrangements and how the texts themselves are arranged. When you go inside the sarcophagus chamber, it looks like it, you know, reads, you know, from right to left like a ritual, you know, like a libation ceremonial ritual that is designed. If you're into, like, the one brother was up here talking about past lives and so on and so forth. One thing that what past life regression deals with, putting you into a state of trance, right? When you read the pyramid texts and you read them in a certain way, it almost seems like you're getting put into like a state of trance, you know, because you go through the libation. You know, first you pour the libation, and then you have that libation prayer. I think that's spelled, you know, that's spelled 23, 24. And then you're going through the I think the feast comes later. You go through, after you go through the libation, then the prayer, then you go through the opening of the mouth ceremony. And that's interesting because in that area, when it's talking about the opening of the mouth, it's also saying, I have not gone dead, I am calling a living soul, so to speak. And so it's insinuating that you're opening that, but the opening of the mouth ceremony is always a ceremony associated with, I mean, we can say it's associated, you know, there's several ways to do that. Like in the Jamilhack Papyrus, we see a different form of the opening of the mouth ceremony. But in general, the opening of the mouth ceremony is performed with this specific type of tool that's used to take out the phlegm of a baby when it comes into the world. And so then to see the opening of the mouth ceremony again performed in the pyramid text, it makes you see that the king, or I think it seems like the pyramid, the temple complexes might have been initiation centers that people would go through, you know, during, you know, yearly, in order to achieve an Osar state of consciousness. But anyway, when you go through the opening of the mouth ceremony, you come out on the other side of the spirit realm. And then in the spirit realm, the first you're identified with various states, but one of the states is you're identified with Asar during that whole time. So like when you do I don't want to say past life regression, so to speak, but when you go into a hypnotic state of trance, it's all about programming the subconscious to revisit, or to see yourself in a different light. You know, basically programming yourself to be somebody different than you are, to program behaviors inside your mind that you would like to see in yourself. And so when you're looking at the pyramid text and they're reading, and then at one point there's the identification with the SAR all throughout the sarcophagus chamber, and then when you come through on pyramid text 219, both 219 is situated in the corner, and it goes from you're associated and identifying yourself with the SAR to all of a sudden you're becoming Heru. And the interesting thing about Heru is, what makes you look at this, or I even have to question if it was a funerary, like if it was actually a funerary text or an initiation manual, is Heru is not a deity associated with the dead. Heru is a deity associated with the living. Heru's acts and actions always take place in the physical realm. And so anyway, I have a whole kind of like study on this, related to the pyramid sex. I just want to get down. That's off the dome, what I can remember.
All right. And also, let me just welcome in 48 Medu up in the building. What's good, King? Yo, 48 Medu. Yeah, what you saying?
Oh, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, man, I just want to tap in and just say, man, Kalam, I've been watching you, man, since 2016, Speaker's Corner, how you was holding it down. And it's good to see you back on it, teaching the KEMET, man. So I applaud you. When I can get more money, man, I'll send you more. Second, I had to plug this. This is how I got my name from Tahuti. I tried to connect you and Tahuti before. He's a great teacher. He out of California. And man, I had to plug him in. He comes on Saturdays, not to interrupt your show, but He comes in on Saturdays, man. And like you said, just seeing more brothers building, man, is always something special to me. So I just want to say what's up. And to Asar M. Ka, I'm in Aurora. So we got to link up sometime. Are you
I'm
in
here
Aurora?
with you. I'm gonna find you, brother.
That's the thing. Small world.
And your face look familiar too. Look.
No, I mean, yeah, we around in the hood, man. That's real. So, y'all, peace to y'all, brothers, man, and success to y'all. I'm just gonna fall back, and I got my pen and paper. So,
for sure, in the touch, son. I'll be with you soon. Kalam, he talking about our brother Tahuti, who got the tarantulas and the spiders.
Yeah.
That's our boy. That's family.
Yeah. That's good. All right.
That's our big uncle. Let me call him what he is, because he's a little
uncle,
older.
right?
Definitely. All right, so let's get back to it, man, because I missed out a good portion of the show. We're sticking on to the Papyrus of Ani. We're going through the introductory hymn to the sun god Ra. We're breaking down. Let me just actually bring this back up again. Let's see if I can. Share screen. Windows right there. So we have been breaking down this. Okay, right here. Right, the introductory hymn to the sun god Ra, and we've gone through a lot of things so far. We've gone through the Manu Mountains. We've gone through, reaching to the other side. We're going through the opening of the mouth ceremony. We're going through the judgment hall. We've done quite a lot just by simply reading this section right here. So those of you guys who are new and just tuning in right now, today's show is a Kemetic show. Kemetic show is the ancient Egyptian philosophy / ancient Egyptian religion that we're going through right now. And this right here is a hymn, the daily hymn, actually, to be honest with you. You can say this hymn literally every single day at the rising of the sun. Okay? When the sun rises in the east, this is something that's recited. When you go and visit a tomb, okay? A tomb or a loved one in modern times now, you would recite this and mention the person you're trying to connect with and making sure that they are living. They are now entering another day with you in their mind, in your mind, in your memory. You're connecting with their spirit. You're making sure that their spirit gets to see another day by reciting a particular hymn that they would have physically, vocally done on a day-to-day basis. So I'm just going to read it out again, just the first bit. There's so much depth just in the first bit alone. We haven't even gone down to like the rest of it. So right here, we've stuck to it, right? So again, worship of Ra when he rises in the eastern horizon of the sky. Okay? So soon as you see Ra rising, soon as you see the sun rising, soon as you see, like I the way I see it, it is the visible representation of the invisible divine force in nature, right? That you now recite this. And it says here, hail to you, you having come as Khepri, even Khepri, who is the creator of the gods. You rise and shine on the back of your mother, the sky, having appeared in glory as king of the gods. Your mother Nut shall use her arms on your behalf in making greetings. The Manu Mountains receive you in peace. Maat embraces you at all seasons. May you give power and might in vindication and a coming forth as a living soul to see her rachati, to the spirit or to the ka of Ani. Right? I think that's very powerful, especially this last bit, because it really, for me, it digs home to what the anticipation, the hopes and the dreams of the ancient Egyptians were, right? They're how can I put it? They're doing a dua. They're doing a invocation to God, to Ra, and saying, "May you give power." Yeah. Oh, don't give me peace. Give me power and might. Yeah. In vindication, right? Make sure that my name remains pure and holy and true. No dirt, no nastiness, no stinkiness can stick to me. Yeah, I have gone through this process. My life on this earth has been a good life. It's been a pure life. It's been a righteous life. It's been a truthful life. I've walked with Maat every single day. And even when I've been doing Isfet, I've done something which is called restorative justice. I've tried to make amends for all the bad that I've done. It says here, and a coming forth as a living soul. See that right there? What the ancestors wanted to have was a coming forth, not simply to be resting in peace, but to be coming forth out of that tomb, out of wherever they're residing right now, as what? A living soul. To see Horachati. Horachati is simply the horizon, the sun in the horizon. And this is specifically to the car of the deceased person, right? This is their hopes and dreams, and this is what you're giving to them by actually reciting their name and saying this prayer in their name as well. But anyways, I'm going to just chime out and get you guys back in and see what the build is. Let's go.
The sweetness is as the sweetness of the two Enneads. You appear. Let's say I passed away, Asar M. Ka, in the royal headdress. This is if I'm a king. The things of the forehead where you see they have the serpent, or what you would call Uachek. Thy hand seizes the Heru weapon. The Amish is the weapon. The fist grips the hedge mace. That's his other weapon. You stand the Soram Ka as he who is in, or who is chief of the two Iterate palaces, who judges the words of the Netcheru. So I stand in a place like Jehuti, and I'm going to cover some things in a second about the verse that we're covering today. You belong to the Inkeku stars, the servants of Ra, who are before the morning star. You will be born again at the new moon's feast like the new moon. This is what our brother, the black Nazi, was trying to talk about when he says you'll be reborn. While Ra leans upon you in the horizon of Psalm Ka, and the imperishable stars serve you, their Shemsu to you. Command thyself unto Ra until Ra comes. Purify yourself, ascend to Ra. Heaven will not be empty of you, Asar M. Ka, forever. And then, of course, when you go to utterance, what is it? Utterance 4, where is it at? 417, I think it is, 416, something like 419. And you will find yourself as a Shemsu Asar, one of the followers of Asar. And this is very important because that's where you want to be. You want to end up eating of the Asar cakes that you find given every time we say Inka and we find you true of voice. These are the things you want in heaven. So when people are making the libations for you, pouring it out, DF, when you hear us say Hatap Dinasu, giving an offering, you want them to give an offering to you. And when you live a Ma'at life, that's what you end up getting. Because we remember your name, we remember your deeds, and we reflect upon the things that you have done. So when we read this first verse here, this is the priest dressed as Jehuti giving you a nice send-off. Why? Because you have become an Asar, and Jehuti was Asar's right-hand man. And so everything that Jehuti does is for you now that you've passed on, because he's going to do it right. And I'll let one of my brothers get the floor.
But we also need to understand when you say the whole tip din is suit, what they're really telling you is that the suit is considered to be a living example of the nature on the planet Earth, because everything that he did reflects what the nature did. His dress, his actions, even the different staffs and different things that he carried is imitating the nature. And I think people don't realize that. They don't look at it to see that these things happen with the nature first, and then they put it upon the Nasut to be the living example. He didn't just wake up one day. He has to go through trials and tribulation, and he has to be able to understand the system in order for him to tell you about the system. So he was not just the caretaker of the physical being, but the spiritual being as well. So people need to look at that before they feel he was just ego tripping and abusing people. He did not do that. He was considered the ultimate representation of the Necheru on earth. That is why they treated him the way that they treated him. So people need to understand it was a serious responsibility to wake up every day and understand what you have to do and who you have to be in order for your people. And people don't realize that. It look nice, but then when you wake up every day and realize you have all these people looking at you, and you have to be the example, because if not, you have to pay the ultimate price just like everybody else. You understand what I'm saying? So people need to recognize that when they're looking at these depictions of these people to understand what they were really saying to you. But a lot of people don't, they miss the point. They're not seeing the responsibility that this individual had. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. 100% correct. Real quickly though, we have literally less than 4 minutes, okay, of us, the Kemetic folks, talking uninterrupted by outsiders. And afterwards, we are inviting you outsiders in, whether you're Christian, Muslim, or like something, I don't even know, whatever you are, come on in, okay, and you can ask any one of your questions live on air. Okay, and let's see how our Kemetic brothers, answer you. So, another 4 more minutes left. Let's get back to it.
Yo, I wanted to build, or at least expand upon, or give my understanding of that phrase, I walk every day in Maat, right? And then understanding like Maat was the daughter of Ra, right? And so Ra being the first, and I was sitting here, Ra comes from Heliopolis, but Heliopolis is Anu, I believe. And so, am I correct on that, brothers?
Correct.
Yes. But so then what we're looking at is first light, the sun emerges to bring forth creation, but then the first thing that comes forth from creation is actually Ma'at, because Ma'at is the daughter of Ra. So it's balance that comes forth, and the universe has to exist in a balanced state. And so the laws of Ma'at extend beyond the 42. The 42, to me, those were injunctions associated with the different gnomes and so on and so forth. But to live Ma'at, to be Makeru, to become an Aku meant that you had a philosophical mindset, that you approached the world with a philosophical way of being, so that you could judge each and every situation in a way that brought justice and balance to that situation. That's the way that you walk in Ma'at. You engage in social interactions in such a way that you bring balance to it. You're not walking in Isfet, which would be to cause chaos or to please the lower self or to please the animalistic desires within you, and just think of yourself, but think of community. What is the best act that I can take that will bring balance to the community? Because that's the difference between Kemetic theology, Kemetic philosophy, Kemetic approach epistemology, and like Indian epistemology. Like in Indian, East Asian epistemology, the kind of goal is to go away from society because of the cyclic reincarnation kind of hell that they have it. But in Kemetic African theology, the goal is to evolve your consciousness so that you become a greater servant to your community, bringing balance to your community. Because when you come back with Himimesu, when you reincarnate or when you do it over again, you have created a community that you want to come back into. You've created a community that you want to be a child of. You're the elder of the community, so you work for the community so that community can be there when you reincarnate again. That's what I heard when I heard I walk every day in Ma'at.
Got you. And that makes sense because there's well, you know what? Let me shut up. Let me let our other brothers build a little bit. Let me shut up for a minute.
But you know what I observed that's very interesting? I realized that when you're looking at some of the deities like Asar, they actually stand on Ma'at, and people don't realize that. They literally stand on the platform, and the hill that they were talking about was Ra standing on Ma'at. Am I correct? Have you ever observed that?
Yeah. In fact, when you say that, you have to remember the creation story when it first starts. Kepra creates the foundation of all things in Ma'at, is what he states. I found no place I could stand upon. I created a foundation upon I could stand in Maat, and all things stem from that. And so I say it in my very first YouTube video ever in like 2008 or something like that. And that is the foundation that all things are created in, is Ma'at. So whether you go this way or that way or do this or that, your foundation is in Ma'at. So when you come back to your real comprehension of life and good things, you should be in Ma'at. So when you fall off that path and get into Isfat and start doing this and doing, and a lot of us have, from drug dealing, from this, that, you need to come back to Ma'at. It's your calling card. You need to go back to your foundation of things.
But when I started reading this text, man, I realized the text is just so beautiful. It's a beautiful text. But it's like when you look at the history of what they did to the text, they actually admit they destroyed the text. They cut the text up and destroyed the text. And now in 2025, people like Faulkner are saying we shouldn't have done that because it's a beautiful text and they're trying to bring it back. So I realize people need to understand there's a spirit that is definitely imbued in these texts. So when people read it, they definitely recognize how beautiful it is and they want to preserve it. They don't know why, but it was designed that way. It was imbued with the energy to make you want to read more and learn more. And if you get an opportunity to go and actually see the text and touch the text, it will change your life. These are people who have no respect for it. And then they realize we destroyed a beautiful thing. We have to bring it back so people can see this. And that is what I want people to understand. You can disagree all you want, but when you read the text and make an attempt to read the text, you realize you have to be out of your mind to think that this has no significance and it has no value.
This right here is a psychological book. This is for your psyche. Okay.
Hold on. 1 second, my brother Asar, right? I just want to make sure I do the call out for my non-Kemetics or even Kemetics. Come on in. You can ask any questions to the brothers on here right now. We've gone past the hour mark, right? I do not want to go past hour and a half, really, but we've gone past the hour mark of us disseminating information. Now it's time for you guys to come on in and get clarification and ask any question you like on topic. Okay? All right. Link has been shared. Go ahead, Asar.
So this book is a psychological book, right? It takes you through transforming into a golden Heru. It takes you to transforming into this. This is your mind, your psyche, your soul transforming into these things. And before it takes you through the transformation, it deals with each one of your limbs. Not just your hand, like in here, when you recognize that your hand is parts of the boat because they were shipbuilders, and he asks you, a particular Necharu will ask you, don't you know what your hand is? Aren't you a magician? Don't you know how to do these things? Don't you know how to cause your works? This is a system of psychological changes that you should be making in your soul, with your mind, and the things you do daily. And it also takes you through the journey through the hereafter in case you don't do them properly, such as the hellfire, which starts in here, which you guys see in your book. The difference is, in our book, the hellfire water is drinkable when you're in Ma'at. When you're in Isfet, it burns you. I've done a video on that a long time ago. So but understand what you have here. This is the psychological transformation for you right here. This is what they left out. This is like the description of revelation that you're supposed to do psychologically for your Ka, your Ba, your Ren, your all of that, and also for your physical limbs. This is what keeps you wab and pure. And when you don't know it, you show it. You do silly things.
There's a lot of, when you look at the purpose of Annie, there's a lot of secret words and utterances that you have to bring forth in order to get through different gates in the text. They talk about different gatekeepers and different quote unquote spells, if you want to use that word, that you have to know in order to get through these different gates. So there's a lot involved in this. And I think people should make an attempt to read it before you criticize it. But if you never looked at it, then you have no argument to say if it's right, if it's wrong, and how it can help you.
All right. So we've got our brother Can in here again. You guys can come on in and ask any questions. Easy Band says, Kalam, so Kemet does have an afterlife. Lol, I want to see you debate him on that, bro. Lol. Okay, cool. And then let's go. Can. What's the question that you have got for the brothers?
Peace to the brothers, first of all. Peace to all the brothers.
Peace, my brother.
Come on. What did I really want to ask? No, I didn't really have a lot of smoke for this one, you know. I was just literally just listening in, just hearing what the brothers are saying. But I just wanted to know more about the hymns and the prayers and what's the difference from their prayers from like the Islamic, Abrahamic prayers. Is it got monotheism in it? Is it polytheism? You know?
Well, we don't really have mono, with no disrespect. That's like, you know, you get mono when you kiss a funny girl or a funny boy, but we don't really have mono. And so with mono, it carries certain things that messes you up when somebody asks you to explain the universe, right? So when they ask you to explain the universe and your God is outside of the universe, or he was this or that, and you can't explain it. So the natural rules are the celestial bodies of the universe. The principles of the natural rules are the acts in nature that are described by them. And then when you go a little further than that, the natural rule have stories that pertain to your life. And when it comes to what we feel like you have different characters in your Bible, we have real people. So when we look for those precepts, we go to Ptahhotep to what he taught his son. We go to Kagimna for what he taught his son, right? And this is how we take that and we put that together. And this is why we venerate our ancestors, because these are the real people who actually existed. And I have this story right here of Ankh Shashank getting locked up in jail because his friends made a conspiracy against Pri, which we call a king, and the king wasn't having it. But Ankh Shashank didn't do anything, so his son, because he got life, will come to visit him in jail, and he wrote these precepts down for his son. And then all of a sudden, in your book later on, you get something from Ankh Shashank that says, honor your mother and father so that your days will be long on earth. And this is how
you see when you said Pri, is that based off Pharaoh?
Yes, Pri is your king. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And so these are the things that people, you know, when you put the Shemsu life together, it goes a little differently. We have our Sabiyat text, which is teaching literature, which will cover everything from getting a job on down. When we talk about our prophets in the book, every king was a prophet. Your Bible says that. Your Bible, if you're a Bible believer, remember what it says. It says, I gave you, Pharaoh, the power to spread my name and my word. I read that on Sonetta just the other day with our Hebrew brothers. I said he was giving revelation to Pharaoh before he touched any of your pharaohs.
Well, you're talking about the one with Abraham and Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you, but Noah was before all of that. But yeah, go on.
Well, Noah was behind all of these because Noah didn't exist yet. We don't find Noah.
Would you say Heru was a real person?
It's possible that a Heru did exist because you had the clan of Heru. Now, what happens in the mythos is separate from what you would call a real Heru doing, right? So if you want to say Heru transformed into a hippo and was battling Set at the bottom of the ocean and then created a spear and stabbed him with it, and Heru tried to hide as a pig, and no, we don't believe that, but we understand the mythos and why.
Yeah. So basically, you're not put the mythos to the side. There could have been a person who had the title, may not have been his real name, but may have been like the first of the Herus who was a Heru. Technically, this is what you're saying.
Right. It would have been his real name, yup. And it's possible he could have existed.
So is it safe to say that Atum also was a real person?
Atum is different because Atum, and you do have Atums who live.
Because remember, Heru's great granddad is Atum.
Heru's great granddad would be Ra, and Ptahhotep would have started it. If we look at Manetho's list, who does it start with? Hephaestus. Who is Hephaestus? Ptah.
So let me jump in.
Hephaestus' son? Ra. Who's
Can I jump
Ra's
in here and
son?
say something?
Yeah.
That means if we take it how you're taking it, then these people may be named after them, even be Ptah and Ra. Literally, it might be kings named after their god if we take it like how you're taking it.
Well, on the Manetho list, we see who do we see first? We see Asar and Heru as people, and then we get Aha afterwards. Then we start the list, right? So we start
That's
all them
the son of
afterwards,
Nama.
right? Right.
Yeah,
so
Aha's Nama.
That's the son of Nama, right?
No, Aha is Nama.
I don't know about the son of Nama,
Aha
but
is Nama. Some say
they
that
call
is
it
the
some
son of
people
Nama.
say it's Nama,
No.
but then you have different people who disagree, right? But on the list, if you see different names, you treat them as different people, right? So when you talk about Scorpion, who they try to mix Narmer with, it's a possibility that Narmer and Scorpion were two different people. Scorpion has more of a Libyan look. Narmer has more of an Egyptian look, and he's grabbing the head of somebody who looks similar to Scorpion, as we see the.
But was it Narmer? He wasn't. He invaded Egypt though, didn't he?
Who? Narmer?
He invaded.
No, he did invade. He did invade. He unified.
Where did it say
because he didn't come from outside. He
Yeah,
didn't come from outside. He didn't come
he
from outside.
unified.
He was the first to unify the south and the north, innit?
Possibly,
but he did invade.
On the stone, like I said, you have Asar, and then you have Heru, and then you have him.
All
so
right.
when you're
One second.
Heru of Aha, basically.
Yo, we have less than 20 minutes left of the show. All right. I want to make sure I give everybody an opportunity to ask questions or make comments. So, Family Tree, if you are in the comment section right now, I am preying. Okay. So if you've got a question, please ask inside of the comment section. The best way to do it also is to tag Titans TV or to drop a super chat, and that way I can highlight it and read it up for one of our brothers to actually answer. Okay, so and again, but has been shared. The link has been shared. So if you guys want to jump on in as well, please do jump on in. We've got less than 20 minutes live on air. Of course, we go off air and we have more conversations, but live on air is 20 more minutes. Go ahead.
Can I make a comment? My comment is I don't like the word monotheism or polytheism because I think it doesn't apply to African people. We never use those words. It is not a part of our culture. So I don't think we should be using those things to describe our ancestors because they never use those words. And there really is no such word as God. They're just minimizing the Necheru to that particular thing because that is their understanding. Necheru deals with everything in existence. The physical, the spiritual, animals, everything. So I don't like to use the word God because it confuses people. Would you agree?
I do to a degree. I think when you use English, you have to give them something to sit down on. But I definitely feel your sentiment, like I felt Infudishi's sentiment. But if I'm talking to them in English, then I got to give them what they get. Like if we could talk Zulu, we start Salbono when they're Johnny Tosa. Or if we talking Arabic, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we're speaking English. So we got to give them something that they can go to and go with so that they comprehend. That's the only reason why the term is generally used, because we're in English. But I definitely feel you concerning nature far exceeds the word God.
And I think we need to start to let people understand that. We're not just, there's no such word as God, so there's no such thing as polytheism. They simply took Ra, who was a personification of the universe, and made everything from him. Because they say he came out of the watery noon in an egg. So that is why when you see the circle with the little dot in it, that is a cosmic egg. telling you where he came from, and everything
But
else
that
came
that
from
that
him.
could be based on your school of thought, though.
No, it says
Well,
it
it
says
would
it in
be
the
the
text. The text
Pa'ut,
do say
which
that.
is the singularity. So
It
the
could be because
Pa'ut
if
is
you're basing
recognized by
your
all the schools of thought
if he's
because they
basing the
all seen the
creation
Enneads and
origin
they all seen
on Ra,
the Sejets. So
if
it's
he
not as if that's one here and one coming from here. What you would say school of thought would be the particular Necharu that you shimsu, that you follow. But when we talk about the Pa'ut, they all agreed that the Ennead was this and that the Pa'ut is all the Necharu, all things together. And in the text,
simplify it for me, because I'll be real, all the mad names I'm not gonna know like that. I know to a certain degree if you're talking Kemet, innit? So when
okay,
you're saying
let's
some
break it
things,
down.
if possible, if
Let's
you could
break it down.
simplify it.
So all
Before you simplify that, real quickly, yeah. We've got Marcheya. They were asking the question, which I think is very relevant, right? Which what you're going through right now. You know, you're about to go into the Pesejet and the rest of the Paut and the Necheru. Just a quick one-liner. I don't think a one-liner would suffice, but you know, is the Orisha of Yoruba a copy, or a better terminology, maybe a continuation, or I don't
a
know,
derivative.
a derivative, or
But why would they be derivative
or
and Arabic and Hebrew copy?
and why
Yes.
not it being its antecedent as well?
Antecedent, because if you're an Ifa or Risha, you are family, and they still consider you to be Vudan. Sankofa's in the building now. I will tell you this, my brother. When it talks about all the Necharu being as one, it says all the Necharu together are the face of Amun. Okay, and then they start to break down the portions of Amun. Why? Because your universe is what you're contained in, which he represents the seen and the unseen of the universe. But when it comes to different portions of the universe, like your dark matter, your dark energy, you're talking about different entities. So if you, like I
So
said, if you have
is
mono,
Amun Ra?
you have difficulties explaining the full establishment of the universe. You only have one go-to when you can see there are different things that beget other things.
I wanted to jump in. I wanted to jump in earlier, but I didn't have an opportunity. When we're looking at ancient Egypt, what we're looking at is the flowering of African civilization. Really, you know what I'm saying? We gravitate towards Egypt because it has the most documentation in relationship to the greatness of the African mind in producing civilization. And I'm saying that to say this, like there's a thing that European scholars call euhemerization, right? Euhemerization is the deification of a human, right? So like their Caesars would be deified, so on and so forth, and different people, different humans became deified in their theology. But that's an African concept, and so the fact that Heru could quite possibly have been a person that was divinized is something that we see repeated in African cosmology even to this day. My brother said its derivative are a function of African thought. The Orisha would be a function of African thought, just like euhemerization, our divinization of humans would be a function of African thought, because we had the same thing going on with Shango.
Yeah, I was
Shango
just about to
once
say Shango as well.
yeah, Shango once having been man, then because of his deeds by being Makeru or Ubuntu, by living through Ubuntu philosophy and living for his people, did such great deeds that he became euhemerized. He became divinized, right? And not only divinized, but then incorporated holistically into their theology. That's the other thing that studying Kemetic theology will give you an understanding of, is that
That's what's in the Khan as well.
we were easily able to incorporate new elements into a holistic theology. So it is quite possible that Heru, some of these deities that we see were actually people that then got theologized and then put into a philosophy and then became a particular school of thought. Because Kemet was not monolithic nor
Yeah, this is what I was just
monotheistic.
about to say. That's why I asked Asar that his origin story may be from a different school of thought, because in the Akan, our thing's different. It's not Ra. It would be Amun. That would be the highest or the creator of anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And Ra is seen as a servant to Amun in my culture. You know what I'm saying? So it would differ greatly with what he's trying to put out.
Yeah.
It actually
But that
does.
was
That's why we have the term Amun Ra, because Ra becomes a servant in this culture as well. So I don't see where you saw the difference in that. But yeah, if, like I said, the different nature will make you a Shimsu of whichever nature you decide to follow in their concept. Doesn't mean you couldn't serve more than one as well, as we see in several cases, where we have priests being priest of Mut, priest of Aset, and priest of Asar. So they're almost like levels of which Necharu, but you're talking about different cultural divinities getting together as a conglomerate as Kemet came together. So when we go to the story of Set getting ready to put Asar into the capsule, into the about to be the first mummy, basically, you find 72 septots, 72 city states, 72 gnomes, as opposed to the 42 that you're used to.
Mm.
That's 72 different cultures, and one was a queen from Io.
Wait, repeat that again. You said there's 72, not 42.
There was 72 early, and there were even more than that initially, and it broke
But you see,
down.
it being 72,
Hold up, listen,
was that specific?
Hold up, yeah, 72 is specific, but listen, because that question is not really, anything major, and knowing that is important. As they break down, there are 13 septots in top what you call Nubia. There are 20 and 22 in Upper and Lower Kemet. But before that, there were more. And so as different cultures started to step out of that conglomerate of what you would call like a United States or Great Britain, they lowered the number down. Now there's a deity who runs each one of those city states. You can see that in the Necharu list when you look next to the city states of who was their local god and who was their state god. See why I got to use that term God, Jose, to make it simple for him. So,
but there was no unified God for the whole country, though, innit?
Here's another thing. In the Papyrus Jamil,
there was no unified God, would you say, for the whole country?
Amun was the unifier. Amun Ra was
I could agree with you on that still.
Here's the other thing. In the Papyrus Jamil, it shows you that different gnomes or different subdots had their own theology, because the Papyrus Jamil is a document that was a priestly training document of the 17th and 18th septots. And in the Papyrus Jamil, it is Anubis or Anpu who serves the role of Heru. You find when you read the Papyrus Jamil that what in the Papyrus Jamil what they do is they introduce Heru after he has had his eyes removed in the contendings of Heru and Set, right? But that's Heru is there, and then he gets restored to power after Anpu goes through this hero's journey in order to restore the eyes of Heru. And so, but then what you're looking at there is the priestly training document to their high god Anpu. Anpu, Anubis, was the high god of the 17th, 18th septile. So this shows you that each independent, there's a possibility that every gnome also had its own separate theology related to its god. That was over.
So
that,
it's
that was over
technically
that
like
gnome.
what's going on today in Africa and the motherland, how you got different countries with its different theology of God, but
right.
I don't know if Africa
and then they have
have one commonality, but if we do have a one commonality,
let me get it real quick, Cosmo.
You know what I mean?
It's
something similar like that.
Almost, I'm going to say more like when you look at Christianity and you see the different sects. You look at Islam and you see the different sects. You look at being a Hebrew and you see so many different sects. That's what you're looking at. And they've come together as a conglomerate, even though they have differences.
Yeah, but in reality, they really explaining that all of them are really one. There is really no difference in terms of all of the deities.
I know.
It's just like it's just like all of them, as you said, all of them come from Amun. He's the father of everything.
I'm jumping in right now because it's too nicey. So I need to just like we literally got 5 more minutes.
Too nicey.
Callum's a wind up, you know.
Yeah.
That's funny.
We've got 5 more minutes left of the show, so I need to heat things up because everybody's just talking too nice. And I disagree with all of you guys about Amun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just see. How do I swear online without swearing? Yeah. Amun. Yeah. Amun.
Yeah, we like you too.
Yeah.
Do you have
Right
a
now-
reason?
That's mind games. I thought you done the middle finger.
Yeah, that's not really my middle
Me too.
finger, right? So you know how we do. Yeah, we're gonna get some heat up in here.
That's
I
right.
say to all of that, yeah, there is only one most high God in the whole of Kemet, and it's the only God that I rep personally, yeah. And that's my personal God,
Ra.
which is Ra.
I knew it. I knew he was gonna say right.
Yeah.
You know.
Who's
So-
the
so
soul
Kelly-
of Ra?
At the
Watch
same
this.
time,
Who's the soul
Play
of Ra?
with his right, you know.
Who's the soul of Ra?
At the same time, yeah, the
Asar.
biggest truth of them all is the one God that is inevitable and everybody must face, regardless if you believe in Ra or not, Amun or not, Ptah or not, Khanum or not, is Asar. Yeah. So it's Asar. So that's really and truly,
Wait.
you know.
It's
What do you mean?
It's Asar and it's Anpu.
Nah, B, I'm gonna say this year is only Asar. Because at the end of the day, you could believe whatever you want to believe. But there's one thing that is what do they say? There's one thing, there's two things.
Be careful, I'm coming.
Yo.
There's two things that's inevitable in life, right? That is taxes and death. And in death, you gotta see a saw. Listen to Herodotus. Yeah, Herodotus said,
Yo, check this. So what about this?
one God
So-
that is unanimous amongst the whole of Kemet is the saw. Let's go.
Why you
So
think
what
the
if you
Greeks
said?
Cool.
What if I were to say? What if I were to say Asar seems to be a composite deity made up of Anjeti and Anpu and usurped their roles, and then the priesthood of Anu created this in the pyramid text times in order to create a unifying theology. But in pre-fifth dynasty, we don't really find Asar anywhere because
Bro, I'm coming for him.
other
I'm
deities.
coming for him. So wait, Callum, wait, yeah. In the Akan tradition, yeah, you know me, I'm gonna run to the Akan tradition, yeah. So in the Akan tradition, Adon Mankuma, that's Atum Kepra, but in the Akan tradition, he represents death, yeah. And obviously, Akans, we also call him God Nyame. We also call him Adon Mankuma. Anyway, if we go by that principle and understanding, Atum Kepra is the first deity of death, representing death. So whatever the brother just said now is pretty much in line with what I'm saying. So your Asar probably came later. If we go into the original, it's Atum. You know what I mean? He represents the death and resurrection, or whatever you want to call it. Am I wrong?
We're gonna hold your
But
thought.
so-
That we're gonna hold on. We're gonna hold your
but-
thought because I want to bring in easy bands, yeah, easy bands because we're literally about to go off air in 2 minutes. All right, so let me get easy bands in, and we're gonna be continuing this conversation off air. Family, if you have enjoyed the show thus far, hit us up with a like right now. Tell a friend to tell a friend that we've been live on Titans TV and we're back to Kemetic information. And if you want more,
Back, baby.
if you want more of this, yeah, if the views are high and if the likes are saying something wild, yeah, we're gonna definitely be doing more shows like this. All right, easy bands, go ahead, King.
Yeah, brother. Shout out to everybody on the panel. Salute.
Peace, easy bunch.
Yeah, my
Peace.
brother.
Come
Yeah.
on, come on.
So I just want to say this, right? It's like you guys are like trying to decide who's the most high God. Now just imagine, bro, if Christians
Come in the
were
Bible.
just imagine if Christians were getting together talking about, oh, it might be this guy, or it might be that guy, or it might be, you know. So it kind of sounds crazy, but I'll just say, like, you know, it sounds like everything is all around the place. You guys don't really have like a solid theology, right? Like you said the other day, It's you know, you can pick a time, right, and there'll be a different theology or story. So to me, I'm still confused, right? I don't know if it's monotheistic, if you guys, if it's polytheistic. I
Well,
don't know who's the most high God. I don't know.
So wait,
There
so wait.
is
So
there
Malungu,
is no
your
such
God's
thing.
Malungu, right?
Hold on. I
Yeah,
can. 1 second. This is for the comedics to respond to this. So
yeah.
I'm going to go for
There
Jose first,
is
and then
there,
Asar.
Thank you.
there is no such thing as monotheism or polytheism. Those are Greek words. They don't exist in
Yeah.
any African language.
So
So
can I
forget about
respond to
that
that?
so
at all.
Can I respond to that?
And what
well,
hold
no,
on,
because
and
I
what
gotta
Kalam
answer you
saying
too, right?
and what Kalam is saying is actually true. Ra would really be considered at the top of the food chain when it comes to the deities. He really is, because he created everything. So he is correct
Well,
in that,
over
and no one here
Amun.
is going to disagree with that.
So
Ra in general, Ra,
Well, over
because
Amun.
you have Amun Isra, Kepa Isra, Atum Isra. So they're all one deity at different times.
But in the
so
Akan,
They're the same.
Ra
They became the same
Ra's called
deity.
Kwame.
so here we go like this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Amun is the unseen, Ra is the seen. When you talk about because you brought up the Christian dynamic, you have the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. So
Yeah.
you're pagans. You got three who bear record in heaven, not two, not one. So even Christians recognize that. We know this. The question is whether you're a Hebrew and you put Yahweh first, or if you're a Christian and you put Yeshua first. Now, in our spirituality, which you copied, and we say you guys copied as opposed to the other African religions because they were there physically, you guys came in, usurped, and demonized. So this is why we say, okay, well, you copied then. So when it comes to the actuality, when you put Amun and Ra together, you're talking about the aspects that you need. When you have Mano, you don't cover enough aspects for your universe. You fall into an issue because you're supposed it does this, but he doesn't do that. This one does this, he doesn't do that. You worship Allah subhanahu with the Allah, but he doesn't come into the existence. Oh, but he can be seen during Ramadan by the nearest cloud or something like that, right? His face disappears at the end of creation and existence, right? So you have issues when you have Manu. When you have what we have, you can explain the entire universe with no issue. Go ahead, brother.
All right, let me quickly get brother Global in because I'm trying to close down the show. Global Media, what you telling me, King? Long time no see.
Damn. Yeah, what's up? And he disappeared.
He did so. Okay, so we've got I'm gonna be dipping out because there's not enough room to get everybody. No, I'm here. I'm just gonna be because I need to get Cosmic back in onto the show. We're closing down the show right now. Ooh, whose mic is that? Oh, it's Jose's mic. Jose's mic. He's doing a madness. Family Tree. I hope you guys have actually enjoyed the show. Let me just put it on solo view. My beautiful face. I hope you guys have actually enjoyed the show. It's been wonderful. We're gonna get every.
When I see you in Speaker's Corner, man, I'm gonna slap you when I see you.
Okay. So anyway, yeah.
I see you, man. I'm gonna.
All right, let's get this guy out. So we're gonna enjoy. It's that black Nazi guy. Hold on. Jose, your mic is a madness right now. You might have to just put it out and put it back in again. Okay, cool. So yeah, Family Tree, it's been an absolutely great show. We're gonna continue the show off air. So we're gonna have everybody just jumping in and having a little battle royale. But hopefully you guys can actually discipline yourselves whilst we're off air. It's been a big show. I can't lie. I really enjoyed the show and I definitely want to do more shows like this. But Family Tree, I'm signing out right now from the live show. We're going to be continuing off air. So jump on in, right? Jump on in for the off air section if you can. Peace and blessings. And I'll catch you guys on the other side. Hey, shouts out to Asar. Shouts out to Cosmic. Shouts out to Jose for holding it down, and to all the other guests coming in and asking some real good questions. All right, family tree. I'll catch you guys later on. Tell me